On this episode of Hook It and Cook It,
delicious.
Delicious.
It's delicious.
Wonderful. Deliciously rich.
Absolutely delicious.
Tasty.
we're at Island View Casino in Gulfport, Mississippi for a crash course in crab cakes.
Hook it and cook it. From the catch to the kitchen, it's your front row seat to learn mouth-watering new ways to fix seafood. It's time for Hook It and Cook It.
Welcome to Hook It and Cook It. We're doing something special today, our first ever live audience edition. And it's something really special because we got two veterans here to join us. Jackie Seavey, who you may recall did that great oyster trio. And we've got David Crabtree. He's only won about 1 million awards and been on the show before. So David, why don't you tell us a little bit, give us a little introduction here beyond that.
Okay, well, Jackie's going to do our crab cakes that we do here at the Beach Boulevard Steamer.
Great, let's get started.
Okay, first we want to start with some really good mayonnaise. You don't want to use Miracle Whip, you want to use a nice, good, yolky mayonnaise. So right now
Yolky?
we have...
Is that a word?
No, I made
Is that
that
a
one
word?
up. I like to
think
make
so.
up
I don't think
words.
that's a
Everybody who
word.
knows me knows that I like to make up words. So anyway, we're going to start with 1 cup of mayonnaise, 3 tablespoons of Creole mustard. I like Creole mustard. It's nice and grainy. That's why I like to use it. We have 1 tablespoon of honey. And I know you're going to think that if we have honey in there that it's going to be sweet, and that's not the case. The honey helps balance out with the acid.
Huh.
We can have 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice if you have it. We have a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of Old Bay. I'm originally from Maryland, so I know a lot of people down here use Zatarain's and Tony Chachere's, but for me, it's Old Bay, and I'm trying to make a Maryland-style crab cake, so I'm using Old Bay. And then I'm going to use 1/4 cup of diced pimentos. If you don't have diced pimentos, you can use a roasted pepper and just dice it up. Okay, we've got a 1/4 cup of parsley. Okay, and what I want to do is just mix that up. You just want to mix it up really good. You're making your dressing first. The reason why we want to mix everything up first is because when we when we mix the crab meat in, we don't want to break it up. You know, you want to see some nice lumps. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of getting it all well incorporated and mixing it really well. Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
So we have that. So once it's all incorporated, and it's nice and mixed, we are going to add the crab meat. Okay, we have 2 pounds of crab meat, and what we are using is a lump and a jumbo lump. And the big difference is the price. You know, if you go to certain places, if you get a gourmet crab cake, it most likely is going to be a jumbo lump crab cake with very little binder as far as breading or crackers or something like that in it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a good crab cake by using some lump. And before you add this, I just want to let you know that make sure you take it out and you drain it first, because the crab meat that sits in here, it drains, it has this funky juice, and you just want to kind of get that out. So I've already done that,
Okay.
I promise
There's
you.
a lot of restaurants that call crab cakes stuffing. This
Right.
isn't stuffing, this is an actual crab cake. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of places will take their crab meat dressing and form it into a cake and saute it and call that a crab cake.
So what I did was I pre-drained it, and then I put it in here. I broke it up a little bit, because when I add the lump crab meat, we definitely don't want to break it up. Now, I'm not really breaking it up, I'm just kind of getting it out of the form that it was when it was in the container.
Now, if you can't get lump crab meat, can you use claw meat, and it just is
Sure.
not quite as good? But
Sure. In Maryland, it's a big practice to use back fin, you know, classically, like, and out there, you know, they use back fin. Back fin is a lot cheaper. I like claw meat myself, but we're making like a gourmet crab cake. And So we're using jumbo lump and we're using regular lump.
When we come back, our crab cakes take shape.
These are crab cakes that I made earlier with the exact same mix that you're eating, but I just I reinforced with a little bit more of the Ritz crackers.
It's one of the best I've ever had, and let me tell you, I'm a real crab cake aficionado.
My wife cooks them. I might get killed for this, but these are a little bit better than what my wife made.
He's gonna get killed.
These are some of the best crab cakes I've ever had, and I love crab cakes.
Welcome back to Hook It and Cook It. We're at Island View Casino where Chef Jackie Seavey is showing us her crab cake craft.
So we're just gonna kind of mix that in there a little bit. And then I'm using Ritz crackers. I got 1.5 cups of Ritz cracker crumbs because they taste better than saltines. And that's the reason why. So I just, you just put them in a bag and just pound them and just beat them up. And then, and one thing that's nice about the Ritz cracker crumbs is that it tastes really good.
And the cracker just kind of help bond it together?
Yes, and the now in Maryland, usually it's, to get a true Maryland crab cake, usually they don't put any binder in at all. Sometimes they use an egg yolk, and sometimes they'll soak bread, like the old-fashioned way is just soak bread in milk.
But usually you bake them is the true way, right?
Yes, you should bake them, or normally they call them broiled. So you usually will get a broiled crab cake. So you would bake this, but today we're going to cook them in a pan.
Because our oven's not here, right?
Our oven is not here. So what you want to do is, if you are going to do them in a pan, I would just add more Ritz cracker crumbs. More Ritz, more Ritz cracker crumbs will bind it together. And I'm going to form a crab cake. Would you like to help me form some crab cakes? Frank knows that I like to put them to work.
You made me open oysters last time.
Okay. So what we're going to do was just, now this recipe makes, it makes 10 4-ounce crab cakes. And I have a ladle right here. This is the quick way. This is the way we do it over at the steamer. But we normally do 2-ounce crab cakes. So after you finish mixing it all and everything, this is a good way to measure out and make sure that you're getting your 10 portions. We just kind of put it in there. That way the lumps stay intact. And we just kind of press it down in there. And we scoop it like that. And then you have a nice little shape right there. Okay? So
all right, I can handle that.
And then I'm going to make the remoulade sauce, which is the sauce that we serve with that. These crab cakes also, so if you're going to cook them in a pan, just make sure you add a little bit more Ritz crackers, just because if you don't, it'll be all over your pan, okay? But these can be baked. In the meantime, I'm going to make the remoulade sauce, and I'm going to go ahead and get some of these crab cakes going in the pan.
Oh, these crab cakes, well, they're gone. It's gone. It was absolutely delicious.
They're very wonderful. I just love them.
About how long do you cook them?
It just depends on, this is a 4-ounce crab cake. Actually, this is probably 5 now that I've added a little bit more of the, so it'll be brown on both sides, and then it'll be warm in the center. Okay. The crab meat is cooked. We're not using egg yolks. We're just using mayonnaise, so.
It's not critical.
Essentially, you can eat the mix, okay?
When we return, our crab cakes come together.
You think you got it right there?
Yeah. Think that's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I love the way that the Creole mustard was in there, and it brought out the real taste of the crab meat and the spices. It was delicious. I loved it.
I love crab cakes, and I think these are absolutely delicious.
Welcome back to Hook It and Cook It. We're in the middle of making crab cakes, and how about we get a nice remoulade sauce to go with them?
What we're going to do now is we're going to make the sauce, the remoulade sauce, that we use over at the Beach Boulevard steamer. And remoulade sauce is something that's local to down here, but it originally came from France. so the immigrants.
The remoulade came from France would be totally different from what you're doing here.
Right. I'm doing
as
a
you
red.
see, there's a lot of ingredients here, and the balance of those is the key.
So anyway, I'm going to start with 1 quart of mayonnaise. And sometimes, well, what we usually do is we put it in a food processor because it makes everything nice and chopped fine. If you don't use a food processor, if you just use a mixing bowl like this, 1/2 cup of Creole mustard, but I have them divided into 2 containers because, but this is a 1/2 cup of Creole mustard. Again, reinforcing with the Creole mustard, reinforcing the flavors that are already in the crab cakes. A teaspoon of Worcestershire.
So a lot of the ingredients are the
It's
same.
a lot, yeah. A lot of people tell me I put too many ingredients in my food, but
Is that
you
honey?
know.
She does.
Oh yes.
Honey again?
What was that?
She does.
Yeah. And then 1/8 cup of honey. And again, don't be afraid of the sweetness because it's a vinegar and, not vinegar, acid, and the honey balances out the acid.
Oh, okay.
Because we're going to use a lot of lemon juice. So it actually, they balance each other out. Okay, so that.
All right.
And then a 1/2 cup of lemon juice there. There's your balance with that honey, okay? I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper in here. I'm using kosher salt, but doesn't have to be kosher salt, it can be sea salt. Okay, and then after that, we got 1 cup of chopped scallions. Now this chopped scallions, because we're just mixing it in a bowl and we're not using a machine or a processor, we're just, you know, we need to make sure that it's chopped really fine. Okay, so that's 1 cup of scallions, a 1/2 cup of chopped celery. Again, chop it up really fine. And I like to include the leaves because I think celery leaves are so tasty, you know. I can't stand going to the grocery store and finding that somebody hacked all the leaves off. To me, that's an herb. So anyway, scallions, celery. And we have 3 tablespoons of chopped garlic, chop it really fine. A 1/2 cup of parsley.
All right.
And we have capers. Some people don't like capers, but they really make the remoulade sauce. Got these hand chopped very, very fine. Again, you don't have to chop everything really, really fine if you're going to use a blender or a food processor. Okay, and then I have 1/8 cup of Cajun seasoning. This one is Paul Prudhomme's Red Fish Magic because me personally, I like Paul Prudhomme's, but some people like Sacheries. Sacheries can tend to be a little salty, but I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
Just, you know, everybody has a little preference.
But you use that instead of the Old Bay then?
Oh, this is a remoulade sauce, so I'm
you use
using
that,
a
yeah.
Cajun seasoning, whatever your
Instead of the Old
favorite
Bay, yeah.
Cajun seasoning is. So we're actually doing the Old Bay crab cakes, and then we're doing the Southern
Cajun
style.
remoulade.
And I found out that it's actually called Creole remoulade.
Oh, okay.
And but there's many variations of it, like Chef David was talking about. So I'm just putting this in the bowl because everything is I'm using a whisk to whisk it, and I'm just making small circles on the bottom because I don't want it to go everywhere. Again, you can use a food processor. We generally do because we make huge batches of remoulade sauce, and they use remoulade sauce. Oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about the hot sauce.
You gotta have the hot sauce.
1 teaspoon of hot sauce. I'm using Louisiana, but you can use Louisiana Crystal. You know, it's got good flavor. So I'm just going to do about a teaspoon. Of course. Okay. All right, and then we're going to use this to put our on the base of our plate. And this is the same sauce that you had underneath your crab cakes out there.
You think you got it right? Yeah.
Well,
I think that's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I actually use measuring spoons. Sometimes when we're in a hurry, we just kind of do ratios, we know, but I actually pulled the measuring cups out and the spoons, and I leveled everything. And
precise, right?
Yeah, I did everything the way our recipes, our spec recipes are. So, but so did it taste right, Chef?
Ready to plate it.
Okay, all right.
Stay tuned. It's just about time to taste.
I love the lumpiness they have in them. I love crab anyway, and this is fantastic.
They're delicious.
So
Absolutely
they're
wonderful.
great.
Delicious. Best I've ever had.
Yes.
These crab cakes are very good. They're very tasty.
As you can see, there's not much left.
We're at Island View Casino making crab cakes, and it's just a few more steps to plate perfection.
Okay, so I'm checking the crab cakes, and I have this on very, very low. Because the heat is in the center, I'm kind of pushing them out to the outskirts, just so they heat in the center. Do you see that nice brown? This is if you're doing it in the pan. If you are going to bake them, just spray the pan, put them on there, and just bake them for about 15 minutes on about 350. It'll be nice and brown on the outside. So we got some nice color. If they're not colored enough, you can move them closer to the center of the pan. And I want to get these plated. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to plate this. So I'm just going to take some of the remoulade sauce and put it in the center of the plate and then just push it. Okay.
Kind of like a smear, right?
It's in it's the plop smear method. I don't know. I just made that up. So.
Well, it impressed me.
Plop smear.
Smear. I say a plop smear.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. And then we take these crab cakes, which just have these are nice and warm in the center.
They look great.
I'm gonna center of the plate. Okay. Okay.
That is one big crab cake, I'll say that.
That's actually a 5-ounce crab cake. So it's a 5-ounce crab cake, and only because I added the extra crackers to be able to do a pan sauce. And a nice little garnish. Seafood should always come with some kind of lemon, because lemon just makes especially shellfish better. So we have a little, you can eat the jalapeno if you want to. But that's how we generally garnish our seafood in one of our restaurants.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you, Chef.
This is always my favorite part, and after watching you prepare these crab cakes, I can hardly wait. Can I give it a shot?
Sure.
It looks great. I like the plop and smear technique here. I like the garnishes, the jalapeno. I'm not going to try it though.
Oh, but you can though. It's edible.
Oh, wow. The remoulade, you can taste how it basically mimics some of the flavors in the crab cake, but it's got that little bit of bite too, doesn't it?
Yes, because of the lemon juice.
Excellent. This is at least as good as the oysters you prepared last time.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, I love Island View. My favorite casino on the coast.
We've been coming to the Island View for probably, since they opened up. And we love it here, and we love all the restaurants, and especially this one, which is new.
This is my first time, but I absolutely am enjoying myself, and the food is delicious, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
We learned how to make crab cakes at Island View Casino, and I'd like to thank Chef Jackie Seavey and David Crabtree for their insight. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget, you can find the recipes on our Facebook or webpage. Join us next time for another delicious episode of Hook It and Cook It.